few days ago, Anthropic released the most powerful AI model that regular human people have been allowed to touch. It's called Claude Fable 5. It's sitting inside of your paid Claude subscription for free right now, and on June 22nd, that window slams shut, and it becomes a model that costs double what Opus does. So you've got about 2 weeks. And every video on YouTube right now is about benchmarks and flight simulator demos, which is fun, but nobody is answering the only question that actually matters, which is how do you turn this thing into money? And that's what we're doing today. I'm gonna walk you through the 5 services that you can sell with Fable this week. These aren't theoretical, because every single one is built on services that real businesses have paid me thousands of dollars for. Fable just made them dramatically easier to deliver. And number 3 is the one that has closed the most consistent high-ticket deals for me. So stick around for that one. I help builders and freelancers become high-ticket AI consultants who close 4- and 5-figure projects and retainers. So if you want to land your first or next AI client, you can take part in the 4-week challenge inside my free school community of like-minded people, where you'll find a free course that's honestly better than most paid courses out there, and you'll get direct one-on-one access to me for whatever questions you might have. The link is down below. All right, let's dive in. Okay, before we get to the 5 services, let me tell you what Fable actually is in plain English. Because most people are gonna see the announcement and think, oh cool, another model, and then go right back to building demos that no one will pay for. Don't be that person. Fable 5 is what Anthropic calls a Mythos class model, which means that it sits a tier above Opus. There's a restricted version called Mythos 5 that basically only government cyber defense partners get. And then there's Fable, which is the same brain, but with safety guardrails. And that's the one that you and I have. Now here's what makes it different in ways that you can actually sell, because the benchmarks don't matter to your clients. 3 things changed. First, Fable can work autonomously for hours without losing the thread. There's a feature in Claude Code called a goal, where you give it an end state and it keeps working, checking its own output until that goal is met. Stripe used this class of model to compress a code migration, which would have taken a whole team 2 months to do, into a couple of days. Now you are not Stripe, but your clients have 2-month size messes too, and we'll get to those. Second, the vision is on a whole other level. Anthropic literally had Fable beat an entire Pokemon game using nothing but raw screenshots of the screen. No maps, no helper tools, which sounds like a party trick until you realize what it means for messy PDFs, scanned invoices, and ugly dashboard screenshots. Because local businesses are drowning in exactly that kind of paper. And third, it holds context over millions of tokens without forgetting what it was doing. Older models would start hallucinating once the conversation got long, but Fable stays locked in, which is the entire reason that side hustle number 3 is actually possible at full scale. And one more thing, because I want to be straight with you about the money. Fable is included in your paid Claude plan until June 22nd. After that, it comes out of subscriptions and you pay for tokens at twice the rate of what Opus costs. I'll show you at the end why that pricing barely matters the way that we're going to use it. But the free window matters a lot, because for the next 2 weeks, you can practice, build your demos, and deliver your projects at 0 added cost. So let's get into what you're actually gonna sell. Side hustle number 1 is selling custom software to local businesses. Now, before you click away because you're not a developer, hear me out. If you've been around my channel, you saw me build a full CRM in 15 minutes, with a user interface and a database and login ready to hand off to a client. So that was already possible before Fable. What Fable changed is the ceiling of what you can build and how reliably it gets there on the first try. People testing Fable this week gave it one prompt: to build an entire productivity platform with a task board, a calendar, a note-taking system, and it came back complete and working. 0 bugs on the first pass. That used to take hours or days of going back and forth and fixing things. And that back and forth was exactly what made building custom software too painful to sell. So here's the service. Local businesses pay development agencies $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 for embarrassingly simple internal tools. A job tracker for a roofing company, a quote calculator for an HVAC company, a customer intake portal for a med spa. These are not complicated apps, but the business owner has no idea how to get one built without remortgaging his house. You walk in and build it for $3,000 to $5,000. And here's exactly how you do it with Fable. You start in plan mode and let Fable interview you about the build, because it will ask better questions than you think to ask yourself. What should the data look like? Who logs in? What happens when a job status changes? Then you take that plan, you set it as a goal, and then you walk away. Fable builds it, tests its own work against the plan, and it keeps going until it's done. Your job is the part that was always the real job anyway, which is sitting with the business owner long enough to understand what they really need. And one honest note, because I'm not gonna pretend otherwise, you still test the thing like a client before you hand it over. Fable checks its own work, but your name is still on the invoice, so click every button. Let's do the math the way I always do it with clients. If a custom tool saves an office manager 5 hours a week, and her time is worth even $40 an hour, that's $800 a month in value, which means your $4,000 build pays for itself after 5 months, and then just prints savings forever. When you do that math out loud on the call, the price stops being scary and starts being obvious. Side hustle number 2 is what I call the paperwork rescue, and this one exists because of Fable's vision. So let me paint the picture, because if you've ever been inside of a local small business, you already know it. There's a filing cabinet, and inside of that filing cabinet are 7 years of scanned estimates, supplier invoices as crooked PDF photos, handwritten job sheets, and a Google Drive folder named Stuff that nobody has opened since 2022. The owner knows their numbers are in there somewhere, they just have no idea what those numbers say. Older AI models would choke on this. They'd misread a blurry total, take their best guess, and then get it confidently wrong, and then you would never know which numbers to trust. Fable's vision was built exactly for this type of mess. Remember, the model navigated an entire video game based on screenshots. A crooked photo of an invoice is just a regular Tuesday for it. So the service is simple. You take the shoebox and you hand back a clean system. Fable reads through the files, extracts every job, every customer, every dollar amount, and it builds it into a structured spreadsheet or a simple dashboard that the business owner can actually look at. For the first time, they can see which services make them the most money, which customers haven't come back, and what they actually spent last year. You charge $1,500 to $3,000 for the cleanup, and then here's the move that makes this one special. The clean customer database that you just built, that's the raw material for side hustle number 3, which is where the real money is. So the paperwork rescue is just your foot in the door. And what walks through that next door is the biggest line item in this whole video. Side hustle number 3, database reactivation. And this is the one I told you to stick around for, because in my own business, this has closed the highest ticket deals most consistently than any other service that I sell. If you're new here, let me break down why. Every local business is sitting on a gold mine that they've forgotten about, which is their existing customer database. Leads from 6 months ago that were interested but never bought. Customers who came in once and then disappeared. That's money sitting on the table. And a reactivation campaign reaches back out to these people and makes them an offer based on where they are. The return on investment is immediately visible, which is why business owners will pay between $2,000 and $8,000 just for a single campaign. I've seen clients run one of these and get 5 figures in revenue in just a week. So why am I bringing up a service that I've sold for a while if this video is about Fable? Because the bottleneck on reactivation was never the emails. The bottleneck was the database itself. Here's what I mean. You ask an HVAC company for their customer list, you get an export with 5,000 rows, half of the phone numbers are formatted differently, service history scattered across 3 different columns and a notes field, and duplicates everywhere. Cleaning and segmenting that by hand takes days. And with older models, you couldn't just dump it in, because somewhere around row 2000, they would lose the plot and then just start making stuff up. Fable holds millions of tokens without forgetting what it's doing. This is the same endurance that let Stripe compress a 2-month migration into days. So now you can hand Fable over the entire ugly export in one shot and have it dedupe everything, segment customers by how recently they bought and what they bought, and then draft a tailored campaign for each segment. People with open estimates get a discount to close. Past customers get a maintenance offer. Long gone customers get a win back. What used to be the worst week of the project now happens in an afternoon. And the client math here sells itself. Take that HVAC company with 5,000 dormant leads. If even 5% convert and the average job is $3,000, that's $750,000 in revenue from a database that they weren't even using. You charge $8,000 against that, and you're the cheapest employee that they've ever hired. You can also structure it as $3,000 up front, plus a percentage of the revenue that the campaign generates, which removes the risk for them and creates a serious upside for you. Side hustle number 4 is researched outreach as a service. And this is the one that I want you to do for yourself before you go out and sell it. Here's the problem with outreach, whether it's yours or the client's. Sending 100 generic messages gets you ignored, and properly researching each prospect, reading their reviews, finding the specific gap, Writing a message that proves that you actually looked takes 20 minutes a person, and so nobody does it past prospect number 10. This is exactly the long, repetitive, judgment-heavy work that Fable was built for. You give it a goal like, find 50 med spas in this metro area, and for each one, check whether they have after-hours call capture. Read their recent Google reviews for complaints about response times, and draft a 3-sentence outreach message which references something specific about their business. Then it just goes, for hours if it has to. Where older models would just tap out or start writing the same generic message after a couple dozen prospects, Fable does prospect number 47 with the same care as prospect number 1, because finishing the goal is the whole point of a goal. Now the meta move, and this is why I said to do this one for yourself first. Use this to fill your own calendar with calls for side hustles number 1 through 3. The outreach formula is the same one that I've taught before. You notice a specific thing about their business, you've built systems that fix it, and you'd love 15 minutes to see if it makes sense for them. Fable just does the noticing at scale. And once it's landing you clients, you can sell the same system to any business that does outbound, recruiters, agencies, B2B service companies. A research personalized list with drafted outreach messages is worth $1,500 to $3,000 a month for them, because the alternative is paying a human SDR 10 times that. One rule though, and I mean this, a human reads every message before it goes out. The research can be autonomous, but the send button is yours. And side hustle number 5 is the one that turns all of this into predictable monthly income. The AI employee retainer. Everything that we've talked about so far is project work. You build it, you get paid, you move on. But the thing that changed my business was retainers. Because retainers mean that you know what's hitting your bank account on the first of every month. And Fable's goal loops finally make a true AI employee something that you can set up and trust. Here's what it looks like. For a client, you set up recurring loops that run on a schedule. Every morning, go through the inbox, flag what's urgent, and draft replies for the owner to approve. Every hour, check the support queue, answer the routine questions from the company FAQ, and escalate anything weird to a human. Every Friday, pull the week's numbers and write a 1-page report that the owner can read in 5 minutes. You configure it once, Fable checks its own work as it goes, and the business effectively gains a back office employee that never calls out sick. This is the same AI front desk thing that I've talked about before, but the difference now is endurance. These loops keep running and keep verifying, which is exactly what a recurring service needs, because you can't babysit it every day and still call it passive. You charge $500 to $1,500 a month per client, depending on how much the AI employee does. Stack 5 of those kinds of clients on top of your regular project work, and you've built yourself a floor of $5,000 that shows up whether you closed a new deal that month or not. And that floor is what lets you quit that 9-to-5 job, if I'm being honest with you. That's what I did. Projects build the business, but retainers are what let you breathe. Okay, so that's the 5. Custom apps, the paperwork rescue, database reactivation, researched outreach, and the AI employee retainer. And now here's the part that actually matters. So if you've been multitasking, come back to me for this one. This tool is only a few days old, which means that nobody has a head start on you right now. Every consultant, every agency, every guru is exactly as new to Fable as you are right now. The window where being early is your entire advantage, you're literally standing in it right now. And I know what some of you are thinking. Lindsay, what about June 22nd when it's double the price of Opus? Let me do the math with you, because this is the same value conversation that I teach you to have with clients. Just point it at yourself. Say a database reactivation project burns through $100 of Fable credits after the free window ends, and you charge $5,000 for that project. The credits are 2% of the invoice. Clients are paying for a fixed problem, and they could not care less what the electricity cost you. But for the next 2 weeks, even that 2% is 0, which means right now, today, you can build a demo for one of these 5 services at no cost. Take a screen recording of it working and use that as your proof when you reach out. I built my first system for my boss at the insulation company, and I documented the result. And that one documented result got me my next client. And the one after that got me the next. You don't need a portfolio. You need one of these built and one business owner who saw it. So here's my challenge, and I want you to actually do this and not just smile and nod. Pick one of these 5. Just one. Open Claude tonight while Fable is still free, build the demo version, and send 10 outreach messages this week to one type of business. A year from now, you're either going to be the person who watched an interesting video about a model launch, or the person that used a 2-week window to land their first client. And the difference between those two people has nothing to do with talent. It comes down to what you do in the next 2 weeks. So if you want to land your first or next AI client, you can take part in the 4-week challenge inside of my free school community of like-minded people, where you'll find a free course that's honestly better than most paid courses out there, and you'll get direct one-on-one access to me for whatever questions you might have. The link is down below. And do me a favor and drop a comment and tell me which of these 5 that you're picking, because I read every single comment and I will respond to yours. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.